that's really what you don't really gain an advantage with it, because frost arrows doesn't really work. It just works for focusing down heroes, and the occasional bear that might come out is a little easier to kill, especially because you can chase it down. Anyways, one other thing to mention with the Scout Wisp is actually, if you don't see the Priest of the Moon for a while, you might as well just check to see that the creeps are still there. Especially if you see a couple of units running by, because if you see, let's say, a huntress run by the Fog of War area that you can see, like the visible area near your Wisp, and you can kind of assume that they're creeping, just because of where your Scout Wisps are. So once you assume that they've crept it, you kind of want to move your Wisp a little closer to, that area, just to be like, okay, I know when an expo is going to be put up there, and I know if it's going to be start building, etc. Wow, going to be start building, that's great grammar. Anyways, yes, you'll notice he's doing a bit more creeping. Obviously, creep as much as possible, especially if you have it's kind of an advantage. I mean, you've already stopped a fast expo. That's a pretty big advantage right there. You'll notice the Wisp is already being attacked, and he's actually moving it just so that he can see. And he gets kind of lucky, and he sees the Tree of Life. Now, that was really a nice move. The built Ancient Protector. This is great. He does it again, and then he's going to cancel it in a second. This is just really, really smart. It gets even smarter later. You'll see. I mean, really nice cancel. That's just beautiful. Anyways, by the way, Ancient of War Wonders are actually a little cheaper, so if you're actually doing that more out in the open, that's probably your best bet. Hero kill, that's always nice, especially when you've scouted an expo like this. One thing micro-wise is that when they actually come to, defend their expo, they're going to have Huntress and Dryads, which means if you attack move, you're going to be attacking their Huntress, which really isn't their damage output against your Dryads. And they're going to be attacking, pretty much everything of yours. So basically what you do is you keep your archers away from the Hunters as much as possible, and as close to their Dryads as possible. Just so that because archers do a lot more damage to Dryads than Dryads do to Dryads. So if you have a couple archers, you're kind of winning a Dryad fight. So really what you do is you try and focus on the Huntress as little as possible. You'll notice he canceled it, the Ancient Protector, again at the bottom, and he went into low upkeep. So it was either deadoing it or building a Tree of Life or anything, and that's just really smart. I mean, he's expoing where the expo used to be, which no one will expect anyways. So here's what's happening. He's trying not to focus on the Huntress, I think. I mean, it's just kind of bad to focus on the Huntress. I just try and avoid it, especially because your Dryads are, like, what you're going to end up massing anyways. So if you focus their Dryads with your Dryads and Archers, you're doing a lot more damage than their Hunters and Dryads being focused on your Dryads. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is if you can pick off Dryads, do it, because it will actually be a little more beneficial in the long run. And especially in this case, because if you have a Naga, you can actually Fork Lightning the Huntress and do a little damage that way. So that's always good. One thing to do is actually get a staff if you can. If you have the micro for it, it's kind of hard. Really nice 7 HP Dryad staff. I mean, that's just pro. So you'll notice he did a smart thing, and he actually passed the staff of teleportation, so he could get his hero out of there because his staff was timed out. That was just a really smart move. And I don't know, OG just played this really, really smart this game. I mean, that's really all you have to do against Huntress is play smart. You don't really have to out-micro them. Of course, he's kind of getting his Demon Hunter in a bit of a jam. And you'll notice he's actually going to get pathed by the Dark Ranger. And actually, at this point, I'd start attacking the Dark Ranger because he'll think twice about trying to path your hero. Especially since you're a Demon Hunter and you have evasion. Ooh, that was manly. So, yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, don't always wait to the last minute to TP, unless you're actually trying to waste a whole bunch of their time, because you end up using a lot of moon juice for it. Of course, it's almost nighttime, so it's not that bad, but it's still one thing to keep in mind. Anyways, he's massing up a few more Dryads. You'll notice he isn't at Tier 3. The reason you don't go to Tier 3 is because he does have a Dark Ranger, And if you start actually going to tier 3, you're going to lose a bit of a dryad advantage. And then when you start losing a dryad advantage, it kind of slips on a downhill slope. And it's really, really hard to catch up from there. And if they have a whole bunch of dryads, they're going to be able to pick up your like 1 or 2 bears that you're going to have. And they're just going to play a little more aggressively, and it's going to be a real pain for you. One thing that you don't do, actually, is you don't pick up scrolls, because they really don't work with dryads, especially because you're focusing 1 unit at a time. So basically just having a food advantage works. This is why the Dark Ranger kind of sucks in the long run. The only reason it's good is because it works well on archers. One thing to try not to do is focus heroes unless they're really vulnerable, like that Dark Ranger, because you're going to end up losing 1 or 2 dryads over it. But in this case, it was a pretty safe bet because Priestess was in a bad position. You kind of want to keep it behind your dryads. But yeah, really, you just don't want to end up having your hero focus as the Priestess user. And this is going to end up being GG. He could have hidden, but whatevs. Yeah. So basically, in this case, what OG did was he was like, okay, I don't see a second Ancient of War. He tried to fast Expo. He's not going to be massing hunts anymore. And generally, people will actually tech as opposed to set up a second Ancient of War and do a mass Huntress push. So you can kind of assume that they're going to tech to Dryads. And when they tech to Dryads, what you're going to have is you're going to actually have a tier 2 advantage. Not only will you have a decent hero advantage because 90% of people will go Dark Ranger second, and it won't end up working out in the long run. The only thing that like as I said, it's only good for focusing down archers because you get the skeleton out of it, obviously, but that's really all you gain out of it. Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, he also took his time actually, going to his base. I mean, he kind of played it. He played it smart. He was like, okay, I'm going to keep my scout wisp there until, the creeps have been crept at those camps, and then I'm going to move them in. And if I see another expo going up, I'll just take it out, and then I'll have even more of an advantage. And a lot of people will actually try and sneak an expo on you, especially if they have the initial idea to expo. They're going to try it again eventually, so you might as well just scout it anyways. So basically, when you're playing Priestess of the Moon mass hunts, what you do is you notice, okay, is there 1 or 2 Ancients of War? If there's 2, you can generally assume that they won't be teching and that they won't be fast expoing. But you still want to keep your scout wisps at the gold mines just in case, because accidents happen. So then what you do is you just kind of play the wood game and just try and keep as many wood peons as you can. Or, not peons, wisps, sorry. I say peons because it just means working class. Burn. Anyways, what you do is if you're running low on wood, then you build a few more archers instead. If you're not, you just mass up a whole bunch of dryads, mix in a few mercs if you can, and then once they push, just try and play the position game as much as possible. Yeah. And basically, when it comes to the positioning game, if they actually right-click a certain unit or your hero, just kind of run it back through your archers. I mean, sure, it's kind of bad for your archers, but the fact is they're going to be taking a lot more damage than they're giving. And if they start attacking your archers again, you just kind of move them away. And it just kind of works as, a system type thing. And if they're actually teching, they probably won't go to tier 3. And you can't go to tier 3 unless you have some sort of advantage, which OG could have gone into tier 3 once he got his expo. But it was kind of a short game anyways, so it didn't really matter. So, yeah, that's the basics to countering the mass hunts. If you actually want to learn how to do mass hunts, your best bet is to actually go into the replay search function, and you search for, who was it? Sace or Sase, and you look for it on Tyrannistan just because he uses it so well on that map. He's lost once, I think, by doing that, and he's played some very good players. So if you want to learn how to do that, that's your best option. Yeah, it works better on some maps than others, but I'm not going to go into that because I don't feel like it. Anyways, my next audio should be pretty sweet, so look out for that. Anyways, I hope you learned something, as I always do, and peace out.